Welcome to Adventure Race Croatia, a new demo race in the Adventure Racing World Series, held for the first time in the area around the city of Zadar. It is a 72-hour race for the fittest and bravest teams of 4. More than 350 kilometers long, it'll take adventurers from sea level to the highest peaks of the mighty Velebit mountain. They will discover river canyons and hidden caves, abandoned villages and historic roads, and a lot more. You may ask yourself, what is this beautiful race? Or how did it get there? Well, it was through the efforts of organizer Igor Dorotic, once an avid adventure racer, now a referee in ARWS.
Last year I was a referee in Wyoming in the United States, and I got a chance to meet the head of Adventure Race World Series, Craig Bycroft. And we talked a little bit about Croatia and the potential of doing a race there.
You have very beautiful sea, you have good coastline, you have many technical rivers, and you have all the mountains.
Croatia is a new territory for them, not really known in adventure racing world. So we talked a lot about it, and in the end he decided to give us a chance to do a demonstration race for this year. It all happened pretty fast, but we managed to persuade the local tourist board and the Croatian tourist board that this is the right thing to do.
It's not so far from France, and we saw pictures, videos of Croatia, and it looks like great. So we were happy to come for these 3 reasons.
We all was curious about a new race in a new country for us.
I've been adventure racing for over 15 years and done a lot of RWS races. And I think Croatia is a perfect place to host an adventure race.
You have the sea, you have very big mountains, you have also plains, you have a perfect adventure race playground.
I think the nature is beautiful, but I also think it's really rough.
It's perfect. It's what adventure race is about.
Yeah, everything is very nice. Russia is very beautiful.
Without any doubt, Croatia is really beautiful. But few regions have so many natural wonders and historic attractions packed so close to each other as Zadar. One of them is Nin, a small city with even smaller churches, including the 9th century Church of the Holy Cross, unofficially the world's smallest cathedral. Designed asymmetrically, it catches the sunlight at a specific time of day. By the time the 20 teams from Europe and Australia had arrived at the start line in the heart of Nin, the sun had already sunk below the horizon. The teams had received their maps just hours before, so the atmosphere under the stern look of Nin's Bishop Gregory was mixed. As the captain of the French Air Tips team explains,
Time to go, we don't know if we are really ready. There are other teams, we just think that they are all world champion. You don't know where you are.
Albert apports to the team the expertise. We have a really good navigation, that is David, but Albert have a feeling about the things and about the logistics and about the strategic that we haven't got, because we haven't got a lot of years of experience he has.
I think that everybody here is a favorite. Everybody training for the race. Until now, everybody's favorite. The race is going to show you where is your position.
Exciting. We will get to some beautiful spots, I think.
Oh, we've all got different skills actually, but I think the strongest skill we have is that we can laugh.
We're not scared of them, no.
We want to get every checkpoint and we want to finish the course with 4 team members with no broken collarbones, no bear attacks. No snake bites.
We have a lot of pressure on us because we are only a Croatian team, but I hope we're going to do this race. We're going to finish, and I hope we're going to finish without any injuries.
As the 8 p.m. start neared, the teams were anxious to get underway. Although Adventure Race Croatia is a new and unknown race, the start gave them a hint of things to come in the next 3 days.
3, 2, 1, 0!
Instead of enjoying the view of the lagoons and beaches of Nin, the organizers sent 80 people to the sea in pitch darkness.
The first section, starting from Nin, a very beautiful village that we could discover because we have a 30-minute rest before the race.
The first leg of the Adventure Race Croatia was a quick run from Nin to kayaks waiting on the beach, a sort of a warm-up for the longest 30 kilometers long paddling section. The good news was that the weather conditions were perfect. Known for its furious Bora winds, the area between Nin, Pag and Stari Grad can be treacherous even in late summer. As if navigating in the dark wasn't hard enough.
Everything is under control.
Yes,
all the
cool.
teams, no one is breaking the rules, and we make sure that all has glow sticks on their kayaks and have life vest, so water safety is good. But all teams is working very well together, and you see some teams are fast and some teams is taking their time to make sure that make no mistakes.
This is what Pag Bridge looks like in the daylight. It connects the island of Pag with the mainland, and during the Homeland War in the 1990s, it was the only connection between the northern and southern Croatian coast. In the first edition of Adventure Race Croatia, there was to be a test of skill and nerves in the middle of the kayak section.
Kayaking section was a good start for the race. What was challenging for this kayak is to find the path, the narrow path between islands. And we made some mistakes taking azimuth.
Our captain took aim on a street light, but it turned out to be a boat, and that we got to paddle a few kilometers more.
We finally find the bridge. The rope activity was fun. It was the first time we made a rope activity and descending on the kayak. That was very nice.
When they reached the lighthouse at Cape Fortica, 2 of the team members had to disembark, collect the checkpoint on the island, and then climb up to the bridge. That's where the real challenge starts. A 30-meter rappel back down to their kayaks, where their teammates were waiting.
We have a wonderful night in Croatia tonight. It's not warm, it's not cold. It's perfect just to be paddling.
Yes, a bit scared, but it's the first time. Not fully confident with this rope activities, but looks like fun, so it's okay.
we finished this section perhaps in 6 or 7 positions because of this wrong azimuth. But never mind, we told us that it was the beginning of the race and nothing is done after the first section.
The kayak stage that actually was, it felt longer than I thought.
And then we have the track number 2 on the Velebit, and we thought that it would be a major part of the race.
Velebit is the mother of all Croatian mountains. It looms over the blue Adriatic Sea for almost 150 kilometers. Home of 2 national parks, numerous natural phenomena, deep cave systems, marked climbing routes and trek paths, it was also the main arena for Adventure Race Croatia. The hard and technically demanding trek from zero to hero passed the Paklenica National Park and finished 35 kilometers further up the mountain at another mythical place, aptly named Holy Hill.
Because there are a lot of gain elevation. We are in altitude. It was the longest section of the race. So at the beginning it was very, very hot, even if it was 2 hours in the morning. And then we saw lights before us, and we saw that we were doing a big trek. We progress very, not slowly, but at the same rhythm all the trek long.
It's amazing, really. It's really amazing, and we think that we are in an incredible place, and we feel safe, okay? Because we have experience in this type of terrain, and we like this type of. We like the technical trekking, you know, and we enjoy it a lot.
It was clear that most of the best teams did not come just to enjoy the scenery. Intersport Slovenia was in the lead, followed by the Catalan team, Travel Indonesia and French Airtips. But the difference was in minutes, which in a 350 kilometers long race means next to nothing. Plus, the winner would get an invitation for the AR World Championship qualifying race in Argentina.
It was tough, but it was really amazing to get up there. The view, it's amazing. I mean, it's worth it.
The sun appears on the Velebit, and we were not at the top, but near the top. That was very, very amazing for the landscape. And just landscape is a good recover, a good satisfaction for us. Never mind the place we were. Just be there. We took a lot of pictures with our camera, and we thought that we were really lucky to be there.
Was beautiful as usual. So only uphill is it was a little bit hard, but we survived.
Maybe the adventure started in Nin, but the real adventure racing started in the mountains. The scenery makes up a great part of adventure racing, and competitors get immersed into some fantastic corners of our planet. Even when racing, sometimes you have to admire the nature, and on this section, everybody did. As it turned out, the Catalan team slowed down because of Ana Martinez's stomach problems, but Intersport raced on, and Airtips were just behind.
Trekking was nice. Even in the night, the views were great. But it was quite heavy.
It could be better during the day, no? Because you will see all the landscape, and for the orienteering also it could be better, no? But in this leg, I think that we made a very good orienteering section.
Preparing to get on their mountain bikes for the first time in the race, the teams hoped that after conquering Sveto Brdo, their path would lead them mostly downhill. On the map, it was a long bike section with a small trek in the middle. In reality, it was once again a spectacular performance by His Majesty Velebit.
We saw the Slovenian team, the Spanish team just before. We passed them. We arrived at the end of this section with 5 minutes after the Slovenian team. And we were very surprised because we thought that we were 20 or 30 minutes after them.
The night has been quite alright. It has been up and up and up. Yeah.
In the first 16 hours, they had already climbed the highest point of the race at 1,750 meters. That alone proved to be too much effort for the British team, after-work athletes. Sveto Brdo was as far as they got in their first venture to Velebit. The 19 teams still in the race continued on the road named after the Black Queen, mighty Empress of the Mountains. Her original name was Barbara of Celje, and her whole family was feared for their cruelty. But Barbara was the one who remained remembered in folk tales as the symbol of darkness and misery. A total dichotomy to the wonderful scenery surrounding this road. When reading the map, teams had expected to get some rest on the long mountain bike leg ahead of them that was partly downhill. Except they didn't. You can imagine why.
Do not tell nothing to my wife, please.
Okay.
I just love tiger bike.
We were at the second place, but never mind the place. We just look at the section and the landscape, of course. It was not really a fast section because gravel roads are difficult, and we were a little bit tired too.
By noon on Thursday, the leading teams reached checkpoint 11. The map just said CP11, Hilltop. Hilltop, in this case, was the top of Tulove Grede, one of Velebit's most recognizable features. Before continuing on the Masters Road, the teams had a chance to brush up on their alpine skills, enjoy the view, and apparently do some scouting of the other teams.
Section 4 was a loop, a trekking loop. Not a long one, it was just 1 hour, I think. But on a major place of Velebit. So that was very fun because the landscape at the top was magnific. And for the race packing, it was interesting because you can take some chronometer with other team. Slovenian just are 5 minutes before us, and Spanish, they are 20 minutes after us. So making this kind of loop is interesting for this. You can take a chronometer, even if it's not our first mission, but you can see the other, they are tired, they are not tired, they seem to be very strong.
Legend has it that Tulovegrede are the home of dragons, fairyland, or the Black Queen's dungeon. In real life, they are a popular destination for hikers and climbers with a 360 degrees view from the islands of the Zadar archipelago in the west to the Lika plains to the north and east.
The following leg was the biggest mountain bike leg, but very difficult because gravel roads are difficult here. It was not the best mountain bike of the race, but that was perhaps the more demanding one because of this succession of down and up and down.
Full 20 hours into the race, another thing came up. Fatigue and lack of sleep were starting to play a significant role. This is when experience pays off.
At the end, perhaps at 10 kilometers before the arrival of this section, we saw the Slovenian just before us, and we didn't understand because at the beginning we saw them cycling very hard. We thought that they are very strong, and we will do the race after them. But in fact, I thought that they started this section too hard, and then after that, they paid.
Sad mi je već polako kriza lagano lovi.
At the end of the first 24 hours of the race, we had a change in the lead. Although the Slovenians had the Croatian ultra-marathon star Paula Vrdoljak in their ranks, at checkpoint 18 it was Ertips in the lead.
When you jump to the first position, it's always amazing because we are not professional. We all have work. Sport is just something to have pleasure.
However, there was no time to relax. Intersport and Travel Indonesia were right behind them, and Kolmarden Adventure and Pustolovets Ride were not far behind them. Plus, Velebit had some more tricks up its slopes.
The night is very difficult for me, but it's very beautiful.
After the first 24 hours of racing, the French team Ertips took the lead from Intersport Slovenia. Good navigation, a constant tempo and fast transitions put them in the lead at the top of Velebit. However, if the first 24 hours of Adventure Race Croatia were all about pace and rest management, nothing prepared the teams for what came next. They already had to paddle in the dark, climb at night, and ride bikes on super hard roads. They climbed high cliffs without a rope and traversed narrow ridges, enjoying merciful weather and great views all along the way. And the leaders even had a short window to feel good about themselves.
Never mind what the position, we have to continue. The race is long, but also when we took the first position, we thought at our family, our friends, our tips first, and that was a motivation.
It's good that they were motivated because the next stage really put them to the test, even the strongest and smartest adventurers among them. Nothing about the short hike of less than 14K warned them what it was going to be like. The name of the path is Little Prince, but even by day, Czernopats looks like a limestone maze, and most of the teams arrived well into the second night.
The leg 7 was I think it was the issue of the race. Why? When you look at the map, you may say, oh, okay, it's just a loop on the mountain. To gain the first mark path, you have to make a cut directly in the forest. So we were very happy to make it during the day and not by night. That was a leading point. We gained the marked path, so that was very fine for us. On the mark path, we thought that it was not finished, but it will be okay. We just have to follow the sign. But here started the difficulties.
Yeah. The short trekking, that was the long, really. Was the shorter in kilometers, but longer than the other one in hours. Was crazy.
That was the worst 14 Ks ever. Where do you find them?
The path is not really a running path. It's just amazing. Yes, 1 or 2 kilometers maximum.
Up and down, up and down, and then a little time, then up. Oh, I made it wrong. I'm sorry.
Climb big stairs, descend big stairs. It's very challenging because on your right or on your left, there is nothing. Otherwise, the trekking was just wonderful because it's so different of what we have done just before.
But they're really cool. It's like you get to climb a little bit and you feel the air underneath and think, this is not the best place to be, but it's perfect. It's what Adventure Race is about. How can you make stuff like that?
In Denmark, they would be illegal.
Thank you for you to show that we are big adults. We can do it by ourselves without anything else. We had made a very good decision to have rest at this time because at the end of the trek, even if on the map it's very small, it was very demanding. It was 3 hours trekking for 5 kilometers perhaps on the map.
And there was also the cut-off point at Transition 23 on Friday at noon, which the Coast Zone racing team caught just in time. Before the infamous Crnopac, Airtips were in the lead by only minutes, but as the only team that managed to cross part of it during daylight, by the end of the leg some teams had fallen behind by more than 10 hours. Intersport and Travel Indonesia, Asia were not among those, but still fell behind by a few hours, competing fiercely for second place.
Next leg was a mountain bike, so it started with a road during 15 kilometers, and then this leg finished with a nice downhill to the valley, and we were very happy because we have made the gain elevation at the beginning and then rest. It was the sunset at the end of the section. That it was just amazing. We saw the Velebit, we saw the leg Sevan on the background. So we imagined it and we thought of all the work that we have accomplished until here.
While Airtips enjoyed the 50 kilometers mountain biking leg through the wastelands of Lika, the fight for second place continued. It was important to find and collect hidden checkpoints as quick as possible. By now, everybody had learned to expect the unexpected. So when they approached the Krupa trek, they thought this would be another trap. But it wasn't. it was a beautiful trek along the river Krupa with just a few twists, until it was time to climb out of the canyon.
The next section was trekking along the Krupa River. We expected a very difficult trek because of the leg Sevan. We thought that every trek will be very difficult, but in fact it was running. That was nice also to not to have too much gain elevation. You just follow the river. You can drink. You can have some rest in the fresh water.
The green paradise of the river Krupa was until recently one of the less well-known trekking areas. The beautiful, only 7 kilometers long river has no less than 19 waterfalls and a rich history, interwoven with myths both romantic and historical. Kudin Most, or Kuda's Bridge, now a protected monument, was supposedly built single-handedly to connect lovers from different sides of the river. The 14th century monastery, Krupa, has withstood about 20 wars and an occupation or two.
We make this climb at 9 o'clock in the morning and the sun was already very hot. So we have to drink.
The Krupa flows into the much better-known river Zrmanja. Famous for its deep canyon, it is a very popular rafting, kayaking and stand-up paddling site.
The landscape was very great. We love all the falls along the river. We love also the checkpoint in the trekking that was in the middle of the river. We had to swim to take it, so it was very nice.
The kayak leg in the middle of the race we were very happy that we had it in daylight because the surroundings was very beautiful, and in the end of that paddling section we had the sun turned down and all the beautiful colors, and yeah, the views was very very beautiful.
For thousands of years, water has been flowing over mossy rocks, covering them with tiny molecules of calcium carbonate, eventually turning them into tufa stone. As it grows, tufa forms petrified barriers, thus creating cascades of playful white waterfalls along the rivers Krupa and Zrmanja. Kayaking down the river provided a perfect opportunity for teams to rest their feet and prepare for still more than 100 Ks of biking, hard trek, city orienteering and sea kayaking before the end.
Ubijete, znaš kaj, prvo smo preko 3 sata smo tražili put za Malog princa, pa tam po tim stijenama smo se pentrali gore dole, ja izvrnula zglob.
You have a 100 kilometers mountain bike with a small trek in the middle. So the first part of the mountain bike was very hot. We began at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so it was very hot. So we drank a lot. We arrived at the canyon we are without any water, and there was no water in the canyon. The canyon was dry, so it was bad news, really bad news. But it was the end of the day, so it was not so hot. So we just keep quiet and make the loop.
If there was water in the canyon, it would have been white from rapids, and now it was white from deposited calcium carbonate that the water had left behind. Either way, the name of River Biela, which literally means white, comes from its color. Biela proved to be another tricky trek, ending with a checkpoint carefully hidden at the bottom of a cave. At this point in the race, nobody was surprised.
The cave was interesting because caves always have a lot of small rooms you cannot find, so we spent a little bit of time here to find the checkpoint.
Airtips had a big lead in front of Intersport, but also the last bike leg of more than 50 kilometers through Ravni Kotari was a sort of maze of another kind.
And then we take the mountain bike for the final stage. Okay, and we saw that there were 55 kilometers, so okay, relax. But the three first checkpoints were very demanding and for entering. And we spent a lot of time, 30 minutes, finding a narrow path between trees, between climbs, between rocks. But finally we succeed. Finally we saw the lights from Zadar arriving.
Inhabited since Neolithic times, Zadar was already an important city during the Roman times. Julius Caesar and the Emperor Augustus gave Zadar its urban landscape, and today many of the monuments still exist. St. Donatus Cathedral is a bit younger, dating from the 9th century, and the sea organ is brand new, only playing the music of the waves for 13 years. All of those attractions, however, served as checkpoints for the ultimate orienteering leg of Adventure Race Croatia. The leading French team entered Zadar on Friday night, late summer in the Mediterranean. And Zadar has been a popular destination for literally thousands of years.
It was very special because there were a big party in a part of the city. So we ran with people around us that were almost drunk. We were not so far from them because without any sleeping, slept during 3 days. We are in a state of mind that roughly drugs state of mind. So that was very special, and that was the first time we made such a orienteering race. We thought that victory is not so far, so we were in a very good state of mind. The last section is sea kayaking. We expected to do it during the day. Before the race, we thought we will arrive at noon, but we are in advance. No problem.
Although at this point Airtips had a safe lead of more than 5 hours, the race was not over. Intersport had already secured its second place, but the fight for third place was now on. Slovenian orienteers from Pustolovec Ride 2 passed Travel Indonesia Asia in the last bike leg and came to the Sea Organ checkpoint suddenly 1 hour ahead. Not that the experienced Catalans were tired.
No, they were not at the end of the energy for sure. So because they could have gone faster, I have been tired because of the stomach problems and that. But we have feel well at the end of the race, happy to get to here. So yes.
At a little after 4 a.m. on Saturday, the Airtips team paddled to the finish line on the beach of the Falkensteiner resort in Petrčane. The winners finished the first edition of Adventure Race Croatia in 56 hours and 6 minutes. Not bad for a 72-hour race.
We are very happy to put the name Airtips for the first RRC editions at the first place. So. Thank you very much for your race. That was a very, very nice one, and the format is ideal. And I think that you could make amazing races for many years.
Welcome! 5 hours later, Intersport Slovenia proved their strength. They were leading one half of the race and fighting the other half.
Tomaž je bil glavni navigator. A Pavla je preuzela jedino tu v gradu, v Zadru.
Ste se izgubili?
Mi nismo se izgubili, po kafanama smo išli.
Yeah, I'm very proud and very happy of the second place in this race because we didn't think that it could happen like this, and yeah, of course, it's really nice.
The third place of Pustolovec Ride 2 was truly the biggest and most pleasant surprise of the race.
I would say that we are more than satisfied. It's for each one of us, this is the longest race and the longest race thus far. So our aim was to complete the course in time limit, but this is like, wow, oh my god.
We had fun. I think that's important. So we didn't push each other or it was fun.
Behind them, Travel Indonesia Asia had to accept fourth place, in front of Sweden's Kolmarden Adventures and France's Le Jeu de Montlaid. Altogether, 18 of the 20 teams at the start finished the first edition of Adventure Race Croatia. 13 finished the full race and 5 of them a shortened course after the cut-off. All of them, including the unlucky Baranyatu and after-work athletes, had a chance to be part of a new and exciting race in the Adventure Racing World Series schedule. This fits perfectly into the plan and ambitions of the organizers. ARC has a 5-year development plan, during which they hoped to step up from demo status to a full ARWS race, and maybe even more.
This was the first edition of Adventure Race Croatia, and I was very impressed how professional it was organized. Everything went according to plan. All the logistics went very smooth, and there was a big media setup behind the whole race.
Yeah, the track and the race was crazy, nice, we enjoyed it a lot.
Kad smo se sreli s Španjolcima na stazi, čovjek je rekao, this guy is crazy, like Vuk. Penili smo se dole u špilju po onoj malarskoj lestvi i čovjek mi je rekao, ti pilot. Pošto tamo u Francuskoj ili u Španjolskoj ne bi to prošlo, ali tu dosta trebaš imati muda po vaše da to organiziraš.
We are looking forward to the next couple of years and the chance that we organize a World Championship. We are extremely pleased how everything went. The competitors also told us that they are really excited about coming back. They like the scenery, they like the organization, the route, everything was perfect. So I think the race was a success.
Oh, there was even a home team representing Croatia.
I taktika je bila da krenemo što sporije pa da usporimo pri kraju još više. To smo odigrali na kraju.
Ako ne i stanemo.
Adventure racing has returned to Croatia with a completely new race that tests human endurance and spirit to the limit. An original course, challenging tasks and fantastic views during the whole race were just a bonus. The Zadar region proved to be an ideal venue for all kinds of adventure activities. Velebit proved to be a true wilderness despite many marked paths and paved roads. Anybody who can climb Sveto Brdo, Tulove Grede and Crno Pac in 24 hours can claim to be an outstanding athlete. The mountain is no joke, but keep in mind that this edition of the ARC kept strictly to the southern parts of it. There is another national park and more than a few attractions in the other parts of Velebit too. The ambitious organizers tapped into only a small part of the natural wonders of northern Dalmatia, leaving the rest for future editions of ARC. And the harder it gets, the more racers like it, because adventure racing is all about the adventure.